guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for tonight's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. As per usual, I have my wicked candle in here, making the whole room smell like caramel apples. And if you recognize this hair and look and all of this, I've just filmed a video and I'm ready to film another one. So I'm banging out 2 videos in one night. So hopefully I can not have to film every single night this week because we are in like the last week of 31 days of uploads. So I'm wanting to get all of the filming done almost in like a pre-film fashion so that I can take a break. I'm going to jump into my Reddit post that I have saved, and this one is from the ghost story section. It is from the Reddit author Poison Ivy 1873, and it's titled My Childhood Ghost. In my lifetime, I've encountered and seen a lot of paranormal things. Makes me wonder whether or not that is something I possess, or maybe just so happened to be in the right place at the right time. This encounter happened when I was a child. I was around 10 years old when all of this began. When I was around 3 years old, we had moved to a different state into an old Victorian house. The house was built around the 1990s, I believe. When I was around the age of 10, I began to notice a tall, dark figure around the house. I made small comments to my parents, but they ignored me. The figure would visit me almost every night. I had no idea who he was or why he was there. This figure was darker than a pitch black room. I could see the vague resemblance of a top hat and some sort of coat. I would usually have dreams about him sitting on the end of my bed and trying to reach out to me or play with my hair. After these dreams, I would awaken to him standing in my doorway. He never did anything to hurt me, but he always made sure I was aware of him. I would often get afraid and call for my mom, and she would bring me to her bed, and I would fall asleep there for the night. One particular memory I have of him always sticks in my head, though. One night, while I was asleep in my parents' bed after being frightened by him, I heard a bang. It was loud enough to wake me up, but not loud enough to wake up my mom. I opened my eyes and I looked around the room to find where it came from. I had noticed my father was gone from the bed, and I assumed that he had just left for work. I then saw the man descend the stairs to the first floor. I rolled over and I woke up my mother and asked what time Dad had left. She said he left about an hour ago. So this was definitely not him going down the stairs. I continued to see this man try to reach out to me and do random things in the house to get my attention. Around the age of 13 is when I moved out of that house finally, and I continued to see him until the day that I left. To this day, I still think about him and wonder who or what he was. Seeing as though he didn't follow me to the next house, I assume he was trapped there. Again, this is just another one of my experiences, and if you do not believe it, that is fine. Even though I was a little kid, I without a doubt believe he was real. Thanks for reading. I'm going to see if she has any more stories posted because I would love to read more if she has more. The next one that I want to read is from the same author, and it's titled The Man in My Home. To give a little background before I share this encounter, this ghost encounter happened about 2 years ago, a little after my grandfather passed away. He lived in a different state and he was suffering with dementia and heart problems. He and I were not close at all, and he did not like children, and he didn't care to know me as I was growing up. After he passed, my family had taken a trip out to his place to clean out his house. As I went through his things, I got to know him a little bit more, and I felt him and I share a lot of similar qualities. With this being said, he was very possessive of his things and liked to keep them in pristine condition. He owned a Mercedes, a Prowler, and an SSR. He loved cars, and he kept them in mint condition. And when he passed, my mother took the Mercedes and the SSR and stored them in her RV garage about 30 feet behind the guest house. I also took a few of his artworks as I liked them, and they fit very well in my house. My mother had wanted to build a guest house to rent out for a few years. After he passed, she used the money from selling his house to do so. I moved into it a few months after he passed, and I pay rent to her now. One day or so after moving into the guest house, things got strange. The first night that I was there, I was hand washing dishes I brought earlier that day. It was around 10 p.m. that night when I heard a loud footstep coming from the small hall leading to my bedroom, and I live alone. I turned to see what it was, and I saw a pair of black shiny men's dress shoes standing a few feet away from me in the shadow. A few seconds later, they were gone. I froze in place, not sure about what I just saw, and I tried to just let it go. While being in this house that week, I felt like I wasn't alone. I always felt that I was being watched. Things would happen at night and sometimes during the day. Books would fall off shelves, things would fall off the wall, and creaks could be heard throughout the house. Some may even say this is just because it's new construction, but I know the difference of new construction sounds and abnormal sounds. At night especially, I would hear a few footsteps throughout my house while I was trying to sleep. The last paranormal experience I encountered pushed me to do something about it. I was standing in my kitchen and my cat was standing right next to me when all of a sudden one of the cat toys rolled across the floor and came to a sudden stop. I know it wasn't the AC and it wasn't a gust of wind. It was physically pushed. After this happened, I purchased some sage and I cleansed the house. To my surprise, everything I had experienced came to a stop, and I never heard or saw anything again. The house has felt empty for the first time in weeks. Shortly after I cleansed my house, my parents told me that the cameras in the RV garage were picking up weird movements. They showed me the footage that it saved, only to see no one there. However, you could see multiple orbs flying around. There were a few bugs, and there was some dust, but there was a distinct difference between the bugs and the orbs. Whether you believe it was just my imagination, or maybe it was truly a haunting, I'll leave that up to you. I fully believe there was somebody in my house. Whether they were trying to hurt me or just speak to me, I'm unsure. Thanks for reading. So they definitely have had a lot of experiences in their life, and those are both really great stories and really, really interesting experiences. So thank you so much for allowing me to read your story. That is definitely really creepy. The next one that I want to read is from the Paranormal Encounter section, and it's from the Reddit author Latin King 91, and it's titled Something More Sinister Than a Ghost Experience. Hello everyone, I just started reading more into the subreddit. I usually try to stay away from the reliving what I went through as I'm very superstitious and somewhat religious. I just don't go to church, but I believe. Anyways, as I'm writing this, I'm getting goosebumps already, and my eyes are starting to tear up. Every time I talk about what I went through, I feel like I'm suffocating. This happened when I was around 9 or 10. I have no reason to lie now that I'm 32. It still affects me to this day, and I try not to think about it. This is going to be a long story, so I apologize in advance. It's not that long. My family just bought a new house in North Las Vegas, recently built, and it was a time where only our subdivision was the only one there, so there really wasn't many houses. There was a gas station down the road, and my school was about 10 minutes away. Other than that, it was just a dirt and desert all around us. The story is more of experience. My family at the time also recently bought a new neon car fresh from the dealership. Well, on the first day of actually getting to the house, I remember my family walking around to make sure everything looked okay. When we were about to leave, the car wouldn't start. And especially being a new car, we should have taken that as a sign. My dad took the car to the dealership, and of course, they couldn't find anything wrong with it, and we finally moved in. This is where things start to get more creepy. As we started living there, I would feel like someone was watching me, but not just watching, it was like hatred. Like if someone was right behind you, and it definitely didn't feel like a ghost. I remember we went to the store one time, and when we came home, all the windows in the house were opened, and nothing was taken. My mom, who is a very sweet and caring person, was the opposite in that house. She would lock herself in her room, and she just wasn't herself. Both my parents would work late, so I would either stay at home alone or at one of my friends who were neighbors nearby until they got home. One day, I was alone at the house, and I was in the far back living room that was attached to the kitchen and by the backyard. I was watching TV when all of a sudden, I heard the toilet flush in the bathroom upstairs. I was scared, and I hid under the blankets of the couch. I then heard the cabinet in the bathroom shut. It was the cabinets that when you open it and let it go, it shuts very loudly. So I stayed under my blanket, and I guess I fell asleep. I woke up to my parents waking me up. Don't get me wrong, it was a beautiful house. We had a pool parties with all my friends and neighbors, and it was a blast. But deep down, that house scared the shit out of me, and it only got worse from there, to the point that if you paid me money to go inside, I would never go back. My grandpa passed away also during this time. When we came back from the funeral, my dad had the idea of bringing back the cross that was laying in his coffin to remember him. Well, that made things worse. My dad was trying to cleanse the house one day, and my cat was named Bambi. While my dad was throwing holy water around the house, we were at the front door, and I remember Bambi was hissing at something. Granted, there was nothing there. So I looked at my dad, and all the hairs were standing up like mine are right now. She was hissing for a good few minutes. While I was playing outside, my parents were working, and I was with my friends. The sun was setting, and we lived on the end of a cul-de-sac. The way the houses were built, on top of the garage was my parents' bedroom, and it just had one window. As I'm playing outside with my friends, and it was already getting dark, I turned toward the window and I saw a black figure with white hair. Not even 5 seconds, I do a double take and I swear I saw the curtain swaying. Not all crazy, just like a slight breeze past it. I remember asking my grandma, who was alive at the time and was very religious, what it was, and she said this is one of the ways that the devil may appear to you. The last thing that happened, I can't explain either. I got very sick at one point, and I was a healthy kid at the time. I got so sick that I looked pale and shriveled up, as if I was being starved. My parents took me to the doctor, and they could not figure out what was going on with me. When I got back home, Bambi would not leave my side, not even to go to the bathroom. When I got better, I got to the point where my parents weren't happy with each other, and they sold the house, and my parents went their separate ways. Now that I'm older, I've talked about it to my mom, and she said that she experienced the same feelings and would never go back to that house either. I used to have nightmares, even not living there, that I would dream that I was back in that house. There is nothing that could make me go back there. And that's how they ended their post. So that was just more of an encounter. Like, they had a lot of experiences in that house, and that sounds like that house was really, really traumatizing to you. So thank you so much for allowing me to read it. And that one was definitely really scary. Lots of encounters, and definitely, like, if it's a suffocating feeling in that house, there's just a lot of bad, dark energy, and it's good that you guys left. So this one is from the Paranormal Encounter section. It's from the Reddit author round-rap4941, and it's titled Black Figure Crawling Towards Me. I've been living in my house now for a little over 3 months. From the day me and my husband moved in, I would always see a black shadow out of the corner of my eye. I was 7 months pregnant when we moved in, and I was super eager to set up the nursery. Well, as soon as the crib and everything was in the nursery, I would always see this black figure entering it. And I always knew that the black shadows are mostly never a good sign, so I ignored it and always acted like I didn't see anything. My husband is also not the type of person who believes in the paranormal, so I would just always keep things to myself. Things didn't get bad until I gave birth to my son. Now, whatever it is, mimics his cries and also my husband. My husband is also starting to hear it. We both just ignore it, and we always share a look. But tonight was the first time where we couldn't ignore it. I've been struggling with postpartum depression, and I decided to just take a nice relaxing shower while my husband and son were both asleep. The whole time I was in the shower, I felt like eyes were on me. When I got out, I felt better and decided to wash some bottles. As I'm washing bottles, I felt something behind me touch my back. I just assumed it was my husband, but then I saw something black on the ground crawling towards me. I immediately jumped back and it was gone. I ran into my bedroom and I woke my husband, freaking out. He told me it was probably just my lack of sleep and that I needed to go to sleep. But I know what I saw, and I know I'm definitely not sleeping tonight. And there's an update. My husband now believes me. I was on the phone with a friend and I told her about my experience. She shared that she has also seen and heard things while being at my house, but didn't want to scare me. A little while after hanging up, me and my husband were getting our son ready for bed. I was silently scrolling Instagram, feeding our son, and he was in the same room cleaning up for a bit before bed. Keep in mind, we aren't talking in the room and it's completely silent. When all of a sudden, our Alexa goes off talking about how the Arizona Cardinals are playing next. Now, we already started to believe me after my friend said something, but I think that was the icing on the cake for him. So Alexas are just really creepy in general. I hate that they just like go off on their own. Like, there's so many stories of people talking about their Alexa saying things, and I just find them to be so fucking creepy. But this is where I'm going to end the video, because this is going to be a shorter video than what we've been posting lately, but I'm going to be reading some more no sleep stories in the next couple of days. So those ones are definitely longer videos, and this is more of just people's encounters and true scary stories, because I know you guys like it when I mix and mash between the fictional and the true scary stories. And the true scary stories don't tend to be super long because they're just people's encounters. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys made it to the end of the video, leave me your favorite color down below in my comment section in the form of a heart. If you guys did make it to the end of the video and you do enjoy my videos, leave me a comment down below letting me know anything that you want to talk to me about. Posting comments and liking my videos does help with the algorithm. It helps to boost my channel on YouTube and allows YouTube to pick up my video and promote me more. So if you guys want to help me out in any way possible, leaving a comment or a like really does help my channel. If you guys have any scary stories that you want to share and you want me to read on the channel, please feel free to send me either an email or message me on Instagram, and I will definitely read your guys' stories. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye!